Hello and welcome back for another historic video. Today we'll be taking a look at this Boros Energy deck. The deck uses a lot of weenie creatures to go wide, but also has a handful of very powerful interactions and synergies within the deck that we'll take a look at right now. Some of the main combos in the deck are the combination of Guide of Souls, allowing you to gain life and energy whenever a creature enters. And then you can also pump up some of your creatures by paying energy when they attack, and that also gives them some evasion via flying. This pairs very well with the Ocelot Pride, which is a 1/1 first strike lifelink, and it has Ascend, which means when you have 10 or more permanents, you get a token with the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life, you get to create a 1/1 cat creature token. And then if you have the City's Blessing for each token that entered your control this turn, you get to create a token that's a copy of it. So after a couple turns, this really starts to snowball, or if you have two Ocelot Prides or multiple Guide of Souls. And then the Ocelot Pride's token ability also synergizes with other cards in the deck, such as Voice of Victory, which has Mobilize 2. The Mobilize ability allows you to create tapped and attacking warrior tokens when the creature attacks, and then those tokens have to be sacrificed at the end step. Notably, when Ocelot Pride copies the warrior tokens, they will remain in play. Another card we have with Mobilize is the Stadium Headliner, which has Mobilize 1. And then this card could also act as a removal spell if needed by sacrificing it to deal damage equal to the number of creatures we control to target creature. Another token generator we have is Johnny Nakatl Pariah. When it enters, it creates a 2/1 white cat warrior token, and then when one of our other cats die, we can transform Johnny into its planeswalker side. For the 0 ability, this planeswalker also creates a 2/1 white cat warrior token. And more importantly, if we control a red permanent, it deals damage equal to the number of creatures we control to any target. So this can go and destroy opponent's creatures. It can go to face, or it can also be used to take out their planeswalkers. Occasionally we'll use the +2 ability to put a 1/1 counter on each cat we control. We can also use his -4 ability to make our opponent sacrifice all but one artifact, creature, enchantment, and planeswalker, which is a good way to wipe the board if our opponent is going wide or using lock pieces such as 9 Lives and Solemnity. In order to enable the Ajani Planeswalker, in addition to the Stadium Headliner, we have 4 copies of Amped Raptor, which is just a great 2-for-1 card. For starters, the 2/1 body with First Strike is able to wall a lot of small creatures. And then in addition to that, when it enters, we get 2 energy. And then we can use that energy to play a card that we reveal from the top of our deck. Additionally, we have 4 copies of Goblin Bombardment, which allows us to sacrifice a creature, and this enchantment will deal 1 damage to any target. Again, with the strategy of creating a lot of tokens and going very wide, being able to fling these tokens either at your opponent's face to deal damage or at opponent's creatures to remove them is a very powerful synergy. This also means that if our opponent uses spot removal or board wipe, we're able to get some value out of our creatures before they die. And then the last creature in this deck as supporting cast is the Esper Sentinel, just a good early 1-drop that we can get down and either tax our opponent's mana or provide additional card draw. More supporting cards that we have in this deck are 2 Fragment Reality as a generic answer to artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. 3 copies of Static Prison, which will exile a permanent that the opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. And each of our main phases, we have to pay some energy to keep it on the battlefield. Notably, with the Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride combo, we should have an infinite stream of energy. Galvanic Discharge, a recently nerfed card. Now you only get 2 energy instead of 3 when you cast it, but you can use the energy that you have banked up to remove opponent's creatures. This can also be used on an opponent's creature just to generate energy, and you don't actually need to use it to kill the creature that you're targeting. 1 Sheltered by Ghost as a generic answer to anything that we might need to exile. Notably, this one is more susceptible to board wipes, as if the creature is removed, then the opponent gets their permanent back. 3 copies of Thraben Charm, which can act as creature or enchantment removal and also doubles as graveyard hate. And then we also have a single copy of Waystone's Guidance, which will give our attacking creatures, such as the ones generated with Mobilize, +1/+0. And in addition to that, whenever we cast our first creature each turn, that creature will get an additional Mobilize. So if it already has Mobilize, this ability stacks on top. For the mana base, we don't have too many tech lands. A single copy of Iganjo, which can be used as creature removal. A single copy of Sokenzan, Crucible of Defiance, which occasionally will be used to create some hasty creature tokens. Then we have 1 plains and 1 mountain. And then the remainder of the mana base are dual lands with 4 Inspiring Vantage, which can be played untapped early in the game. Needle Verge Pathway, which we can use to select either red or white based on which mana we need. Sacred Foundry as a shock land. And Sunbaked Cavern, which can also be sacrificed later in the game to draw a card if we already have our mana set up and want to look for additional action. Since all of the permanents in this deck are less than 2 mana and Loris is on color, we can run this companion for free. And what Loris allows us to do is once it is in play, each of our turns we can cast one of our permanents with mana value 2 or less from our graveyard. So anything that was removed early in the game or things that we fling with our Goblin Bombardment, we can get back. As you might know, the Boros Energy deck is a top tier deck. It's very powerful in all the formats that it's played in, and I'm really looking forward to playing it today. Before we jump into the gameplay, I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe to the video. It really helps the channel. And without further ado, let's jump into the games. This hand looks good. Turn 1 Guide of Souls into either turn 2 Ocelot Pride or Amped Raptor, depending on if Guide of Souls survives. So far, no removal, and our opponent missed their land drop. Over now, Ocelot Pride. Hit for 1. If our opponent misses a second land drop, they could be in a lot of trouble. Things will spiral out of control very quickly. They go to natural discard, so they are going to be the Persist combo deck. Here we'll throw down an Esper Sentinel and another Ocelot Pride. This should give us the City's Blessing. And I believe with Goblin Bombardment we should have lethal next turn. So our opponent needs to get another card in their graveyard and reanimate it all at the same time. Voice of Victory will protect our combo. And then Goblin Bombardment will win it. Good game. This hand has a good curve. We are missing some of our more powerful cards, but we'll give it a try. Start off with our Esper Sentinel. Usually we're going to want to play out Amped Raptor on turn 2. One of the only scenarios we'd want to play Goblin Bombardment is if we draw our Ajani and want to be able to transform it right away. Here we'll play out our Sokenzan. I think we attack first. Starting town usually points to some type of quick combo deck. And there is the Ajani we just spoke about with Goblin Bombardment. Our opponent removes it and plays a Sire of Insanity. If they have the Persist here, then we will end up discarding our hand. Thoughtseize is fine. They're likely to take the Waystone's Guidance here, or the Goblin Bombardment, as the Static Prison won't matter. They choose the Guidance. And they have a looting as well, so maybe they don't have their reanimate in hand, or they're searching for a better target. This is an interesting choice. You can play out either the Bombardment or the Ocelot Pride. I think we're going to go with the Pride. If they don't reanimate next turn, it snowballs faster. They let us draw a card. And have a couple more reanimation targets now in the graveyard. If they don't do anything here, I was going to say, if they don't do anything here, we will have lethal. So we'll attack first. We can play out our Voice of Victory. If our opponent reanimates Atraxa here, Goblin Bombardment will be able to kill them. I say if they bring back the Sire and have us discard our hand, then we can attack for lethal. This hand, I think, has too many Ajani in it. It does have solid mana under us, and we would be able to have red permanent play. We'll give it a try. I do think it might be a bad hand, though. We'll hold up Galvanic Discharge. Good target. We'll shock ourselves and play out an Ajani. Next turn, if we hit another land drop, we can play out Amped Raptor and transform our Ajani in the same turn. We do not. So here I think we will just Static Prison the Bishop. Hit for 3. Our opponent has a Righteous Valkyrie. And unfortunately, we failed to find a land yet again. We'll attack in with our token. That was a mistake from our opponent. Now we'll be able to kill their Righteous Valkyrie. We'll pass the turn. Bishop is fine. And now we get the land. So first we will create a token. Deal 3 damage to Bishop. And we could have played out one of the Ajanis first, so we did actually miss out on a bit of damage here. We do want to get Voice of Victory going. Hit 4/4 and then pass the turn. Our opponent is in a lot of trouble here. They would need a card such as Collected Company, I think, to really come back from this. We don't even need to pay here. We'll kill it with the Ajani. Play out our Ocelot Pride. Fling the mobilized tokens before they're sacrificed. And we actually have lethal on board here, so we'll just kill our opponent. Good game. This hand is good. We don't have any interaction, but we do have double Guide of Souls and Voice of Victory, which will generate a good amount of life gain if it sticks around. Could be a mirror match from our opponent. Here I think we get the voice down. Next turn we can triple spell. Our opponent appears to be on some form of control deck. Do they also have removal for voice? They do, it looks like. They have to remove it now on their turn. Fragment Reality, this will get one of our creatures in. Esper Sentinel is not a bad hit. So here we'll play out Guide of Souls into a headliner. Unfortunately, we don't quite have enough energy to activate Guide of Souls, so we need 4. Seeing a lot of spot removal from our opponent's Jeskai deck, they might not have as many board wipes. And they pay the tax. Ajani is another great pickup. This should give us enough energy to make Esper Sentinel larger. And we'll pass the turn. We can either draw with Sunbait Canyon or keep the mana. Board wipe is really what we're trying to dodge here. Instead, our opponent will use Snapcaster to flash back one of their choruses. We'll get to draw a card here off Esper Sentinel. Be interesting to see which creature they prioritize. Big 2 picked the Sentinel. Notably, the order in which they drew these chorus cards, they will get to restock their hand as soon as they get the one that allows them to draw. And I think drawing a land here, we will actually sacrifice the Canyon now. We will discharge the Snapcaster, paying 1. And then again, because our opponent keeps using spot removal, I'm comfortable playing out more creatures. Static Prison we play out so that we can get it again later with Loris. Here we can only play out one of our creatures. I think we picked the Ajani. And we'll prioritize white mana. Okay, here we would be able to play out Guide of Souls into Ocelot Pride. That would generate enough energy to give flying to one of our creatures if our opponent does not have any interaction. We'll play out the Ocelot Pride. This is likely to eat a counterspell. Instead, they reprieve it. At least that protects it from any type of board wipe our opponent might follow up with. I believe that's the 3rd or 4th naturally drawn shanty, but they're already up to 6 on their chorus. We'll start with Esper Sentinel to tax our opponent. Notably, we do have Lurus available. Here we will play out the Amp Raptor. Our opponent has not drawn very many lands this game, so they have a lot of interaction for what we're doing. Then I think we pump the token, since the Guide of Souls is our more valuable asset. Goblin Bombardment off the top pretty much wins it at the moment. We haven't seen any life gain. There is the Hymn to Ages, so our opponent completely restocks. They should have played that before playing out their tap land. Now they don't have their board wipe available to them, and that might have cost them the game. This hand is a bit slow. No 1-drops. We could be on the mirror match. I think we need to have a faster hand or more removal. This is better. We'll put back one of the Goblin Bombardments. We are okay taking out that Birds of Paradise. It will come back, but we will slow down our opponent a bit. Looks like the Val combo deck from our opponent. And there is Val. So I think here we will play out one of our Ajani, and then next turn we can try Goblin Bombardment. Goblin Bombardment is very powerful against their deck, as we are able to take out their small lifelink creatures very easily. Birthing Ritual. Do they want to sacrifice their Val? They do not. We will continue to pay. Then here we have the option of playing out Goblin Bombardment, using Thraben Charm. If we use the Bombardment, we won't be able to take out the Val. Thraben Charm would be able to. Close call. I think we do attack with our cat token. See if our opponent wants to block. They do not. So here we will hold up our Thraben Charm. Our opponent hits for 2, that's fine. They have the Moon Dancer. And then a second Birthing Ritual. We will take out the Moon Dancer here. Moon Dancer provides them with a little bit more card selection if they do find life gain, whereas Val is just a decent blocker. You know, it doesn't really have much other benefit to them at the moment. And they do decide to swap it out. Prospector will generate a treasure. And they will upgrade the Prospector as well to a second Innkeeper. Sunbig Canyon is a great pickup. Here we will play out our Guide of Souls. And then we'll hit with our cat token. And here we definitely want to play out our Bombardment. We will take out both of our opponent's creatures. It's likely that we see a concession from our opponent soon. And we will leave 2 creatures in play so that we can remove a 2 toughness creature if our opponent draws one. Next turn will be wide enough that we can remove any of their creatures, and it will be very difficult for them to win from there. Collected Company is fine. Again, they have an ABC combo, so they will need 3 creatures in play in order to combo off. They sacrifice the Val. And we will just take out the Innkeeper right away. Second birthing ritual will fizzle. And then untap land off the top is fantastic. We'll play out everything.
I will prove my worth to my pride.
Create a token. We will give our guide flying. And this will be lethal on board. Good game. See if our opponent concedes or tries to play it out. We can just kill them whenever something goes on the stack. This hand is missing white mana. It will have to be mulligan. No creatures here. We do have quite a bit of removal. I'll keep it. We'll throw back Sheltered by Ghost because we don't have a target. Some type of aura deck from our opponent or enchantment. We'll hold a Fragment Reality. Chances are they don't have a 0-drop in their hand, so this will just be removal. Emberheart, we will remove the Challenger. Next turn we can Galvanic Discharge the Emberheart. And we'll do that right now. No need to wait. In case they have a pump spell. Hopefully no follow-up creature here. They do have another Emberheart. We will play out the Bombardment and a tapped Foundry here. We could run out the Ajani, but then if they have removal in their hand, they'll be able to pick off the creature. And the token is not a fantastic chump blocker. Our opponent did not pump the Emberheart last turn, so they might not have any follow-up. It's a Sheltered by Ghosts, so here we're looking for cards such as Static Prison to be able to remove the Emberheart. And another creature. So our opponent did draw into quite a few creatures this turn. And we are dead on board if they have another removal spell. We'll play out our Ajani. And then also the Voice of Victory. So they decide to hold back. That's probably a good call. Here we can play out Guide of Souls and cycle the Sunbaked Canyon, or we can move Lurrus to hand. We don't currently have any cards in our graveyard that we want to recur. I think we'll start off with the Sunbaked Canyon and see what we draw into. Esper Sentinel, not a terrible draw, but our opponent has enough mana that it should not really impact the game at this point. And then no attack. Our opponent is looking for a way to give their Emberheart trample or evasion. They already played out their land for the turn. And now they decide to attack in. They changed their mind. So Kinzon is a few surprise tokens. These tokens will be able to block. I can't really attack in with the cat token. I think we move Loris to hand. Attacking with Voice of Victory will not give it flying, so we don't want to do that yet. And I don't think we need to play out the Sokenzan. The pause there might indicate to our opponent that we have some type of reaction spell. And here we can actually hold up to make our opponent believe we might have something. Fragment Reality is great. That can get the Shelter by Ghosts off the battlefield, and we will be able to use our bombardment to transform the Ajani. Notably, now their creature has trample. We can actually take trample off of their creature with Fragment Reality, or we can get the bombardment back. Here we will go for the trample, I think. That's the only way we're really going to be able to survive. So we will block the Ember Heart. And then we can eat the Manifold Mouse. Transform Ajani.
A dark plot ties up.
They do not have a pump spell. Another Ajani is okay. So here we can try and pump up Ajani and destroy one of their enchantments. They would just sacrifice the Shardmaid's Rescue and the Heartfire Hero. These are colorless tokens, so they won't help. And we don't have any permanents in our graveyard. We will play out the Ajani here for more blockers.
What a beautiful day, brother.
This only has Ward 2, so we would be able to destroy it actually if we had a red permanent, but we do not.
Share in my vengeance.
I think we start attacking in with our Voice of Victory. Gain some life. And then we will play out Luris here. I know there's nothing to get back. Now if we chump with our Esper or our Ajani, we will be able to cast it next turn, assuming no removal. Monstrous Rage is fine. They no longer have Double Strike at the moment. Now their creature has flying, so we are going to need to find a red permanent soon. We won't be able to race the life gain with what we have on board. Do they have the fling effect as well? Looks like they might. Good game. This hand is pretty good. We will start out with the Guide of Souls here. It just has the highest upside with Ocelot Pride if it survives. Our opponent hovering over our guide indicates that they have some form of removal. We will bait it out with the Esper Sentinel. That survives, so we'll hit in for 1. Our opponent uses the Lightning Helix on the Sentinel, so we'll get to draw a card here. And then I think we will play out the Headliner, even though our opponent might have a board wipe. This is looking like a Jeskai control deck. So here we can play out another Sentinel and see if our opponent has any type of removal that they want to fire off. They choose not to. So here we will attack in. We won't play out the bombardment yet. We do want our opponent to interact with us before we play it, in case they have a counter spell. They take it all. Here we will try the bombardment, even though they're likely to counter it. And they do. This turn I fully expect a board wipe from our opponent. And they're not really under any pressure at the moment. Prismatic Ending is fine. We definitely prefer that over a board wipe. Here we don't want to overcommit, so we will just play out the Ocelot Pride. And we will give flying to the headliner. And we'll hold on to Guide of Souls and Amped Raptor to rebuild if our opponent does have a board wipe. A lot of players might be tempted to play out the Guide of Souls to try and put on additional pressure, but I do believe that is a mistake. We'll see if they go for the headliner, the Ocelot Pride, or the Guide of Souls here. They're going for the headliner. So we will take out the Snapcaster, bank energy. Here I think we just attack in. And we will put the counters on the cat, as it is the least important to us if our opponent has spot removal. And then we'll move Loris to hand. Our opponent seems to be flooding out a bit, especially compared to us. If we play out the Amped Raptor and the Guide of Souls, we can give another creature flying. That'll be an additional 2 damage. Doesn't change the clock, so I think we just attack in with what we have. Our opponent might have another Snapcaster Mage to ambush us. They do. They'll take the Prismatic Ending. Before blocks, we will exile their Snapcaster. Unlikely they have a 1-drop. And our opponent concedes. This hand is good. Turn 1 Sentinel, and then on turn 2 we can see which card makes sense, but we have a removal spell and continuation of our curve. Without the immediate life gain, we would probably play Amped Raptor over Ocelot Pride.
I've read nearly the entire library.
We'll attack him with Sentinel. Our opponent jumps. We'll discharge the Tameo. And then here we will play out the Guide of Souls. Our opponent has another Tameo.
Curious.
They appear to be on an affinity deck.
I must investigate this scroll further.
Static Prison is a good top deck. We'll take out the Tameo here, and then we'll play the Ocelot Pride. Our opponent down to 16, and we will generate a cat. Still not quite to the City's Blessing. Emery is okay at the moment. Notably, Emery will be able to continually generate chump blockers, although not through a Thraben Charm. And our opponent concedes. Might be a bit early for concession. This hand has all removal with no creatures. It'll be mulligan. This one is better. I think we throw back the static prison. Without any way to continually generate energy, it will be the weakest card most likely. And here we will shock in and play out our headliner. Opponent likes the card on top. And they pass the turn. We'll hit for 2. Play out an Ocelot Pride. Looks like a mud deck from our opponent. Here I think we will play out the other Ocelot Pride. We could Sheltered by Ghost the Mind Stone to try to slow down our opponent as well, but I'd rather try and clip a cost reducer. Our opponent might have something like the One Ring here. They cycle the Chromatic Star for blue mana. The color here might not matter. They might just pick blue randomly, so we're not going to buy into it too much. And there's a Cloud Key. That's something we definitely want to take with the Sheltered by Ghosts. And we will put the Sheltered by Ghost on the headliner's fine. We don't want to put it on a Ocelot Pride here in case our opponent does have some form of removal. And that gives us the City's Blessing, so all of these tokens will be doubled, and with 2 cats, we'll get a bunch of them here at the end step. So next turn our opponent is dead unless they are able to come up with a fog effect. They do have the One Ring. They can't draw with it yet. We will play out the Bombardment, which will be enough to kill our opponent on their upkeep. We can throw these tokens at them at any time and win the game. Notably, we can wait until something is on the stack that either targets the bombardment or that we need to respond to. And there's the win. Good game. All right, so there you have the deck. As expected, it felt extremely strong. As we all know by this point, the Boros Energy deck is a top-tier deck in the format. Throughout the gameplay, we saw Goblin Bombardment being a tremendous tool both for removal and for dealing burn to our opponent. When it comes to some of the other utility cards in the deck, I don't believe we ended up casting a Waystone's Guidance. I think we only used the Thraben Charm one time as well. When it comes to modifications and cards that you can play around with, I do think that the nerfed version of Galvanic Discharge could be swapped out for a burn spell that could be pointed at face. Similarly, Static Prison, while it is a good temporary removal and is also a nice interaction when you have an active Guide of Souls, you might want to swap that out for a more permanent solution. The Thraben Charms I would definitely keep in the deck. Again, we didn't play up against many graveyard strategies, but Thraben Charm being our primary source of graveyard hate, I feel that is definitely needed. You could potentially look at adding something like a Soul Guide Lantern, which would have late game recursion with Lurrus for card draw if you didn't need it to nuke your opponent's graveyard. Additionally, maybe you want to swap out something like the Sokenzan from the mana base for potentially a creature land such as Den of the Bugbear. Cards that also could be added to the deck or tested are the newly printed Hexing Squelcher. You could also go up in count for your Stadium Headliner. I think ideally you want to be running around 10 to 12 red permanents for the flip side of a Johnny. If you want to reliably be able to use his burn ability when creating your token. In general, though, this deck is extremely powerful, and I'm sure many of the shells that you could play will put up a lot of wins. So narrowing down what the optimal build is for the current meta is something that will definitely take some tinkering. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.